It's one of those scenarios where you have a mom that doesn't really have an education, is trying to get her life right, and she joined AA really early when my brother and I were still young. It was a scenario of constantly kind of moving around, either between Hilltop or the Shawshan areas, which are kind of the poor areas of Tacoma. I think when I first started getting involved in politics, I counted how many places we lived at one point. It was 13 places outside of the time that we'd spent in a shelter or kind of homeless. There was times when I would look and see neighborhood kids that were on welfare that would have Nike Air Jordans, and I'd have holes in my shoes and wonder why, what are we doing wrong, what's not adding up here, or they're at least in a consistent place, and we're still getting bounced around and getting evicted because we couldn't make rent. And it was then that I became aware and started to notice some things and choices that my mom was making, and those choices were she was trying to stay off of welfare. And I didn't realize that until she told me that directly one day when I asked about the Air Jordans. I mean, you get these stories when you're growing up about, let me tell you, son, I walked both ways to school uphill, but proverbially, I did stand in the snow at the bus stop with holes in my shoes with my feet freezing, watching other kids sporting these Nike Air Jordans that are from the same area, and I'm going, why is this? And I still remember to this day, she says, we're going to work for what we have. We're going to earn it. And I want you to learn that lesson. It'll serve you well in life. One time my mom would leave early in the morning and go do the paper out, and someone broke into our house. And my brother and I were upstairs, and the only reason why they didn't come upstairs was because our dog was barking. And after that, my brother and I would spend a lot of time in the backseat of a car with newspapers, sitting on them, basically handing them to my mom because she didn't want to leave us in that place while she was out doing that other job, and then coming back, sleeping another couple hours, and going and working in the gas station while we were at school. When you grow up in that environment, it's not necessarily the picturesque story. I mean, I've been shaped. I've had a gun stuck in my face 3 times in my life. I mean, that steals you when you realize that you're that short away from losing your life.
You've talked about how you've benefited from the tough things, and you've committed to not having your kids go through some of the same things you did. How do you keep them from taking this kind of life for granted?
I think about that every day of my life. I mean, I seriously do. I have one adopted child, Joseph, and he's probably the most similar to me in mindset, only because his observational skills, his self-awareness of the situations that he's in, were founded in an orphanage in Ethiopia. When I look at a McDonald's menu, I'm still looking at how I can price compare or price join everything so I get the lowest possible price, because all I had was a couple dollars back in the day to try to buy the food that I needed. Joseph, and so whatever environment you're in, Joseph still has that mindset that he has. My other kids haven't necessarily had to develop that. Whether that is a lot of the community service that we do through church. To some regard, Stephen, the answer to that is I have to trust the Lord to some degree. I'm not going to put my kids in Hilltop and say, okay, see you a week later, go live by yourself for a week and try to figure it out. That's not the right answer. I hope to give them a platform to stand on that will give them successful opportunities in life. I hope that the lessons I try to verbally tell them, I have what is called, we started it with my girls. My girls are the oldest, and we call it daddy-daughter days, but really it's just days where I'll take one of the kids and just go out, and I'll do things. We'll sit down at a table and I'll just ask them, what do you see around you? I mean, observe the restaurant that you're in, or observe whether it's pumping gas, look around you. Why did I park or why did I line up in this stall versus the other one? Because they don't think in those same terms as I do. I make sure, if I'm in a gas station, I'm in a stall where I can be seen. These types of things. Only because I don't want to get robbed. And so I try to impart that on them. Whether or not that will stick, you gotta trust the Lord in some of that regard, because I'd rather have them have the benefits of, the peace. I mean, I didn't know a lot of peace growing up, but my kids do. And I think that's with their spirit and with the joy that I see in their faces. That probably is a good trade-off. I hope it is.